Uh-huh.
That's right.
Like biscuits.
Straight out of the oven.
Gobble damn cookies up, yo.
Word.
Gotta have them bickies.
Cookie Monster rates us. Alrighty, folks. We are back. Life Biscuits.
We are. It has been 1 week, and here we are. We've changed venues tonight.
Yeah.
Which
At Casa de Henderson. Let me just take that out.
Don't tell people where you live. Number 642.
642, yes.
In the suburb of Henderson. Now, we are... Yeah, my kids aren't asleep, so I'm excited so I can speak a little bit more confidently and enthusiastically, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, couple of things. Thanks for the feedback, folks. If you've been listening carefully, I do have a bit of a cough. My sincerest apologies. Post-viral, not contagious, just a little bit of a tickle, so I will do my best to not cough into the microphone too loudly.
I'm sure a lot of people can sympathise or empathise with you because, it's something that we have all had at some stage, that post-viral cough that just goes on and on. But feedback, we've got some great feedback, and I want to give a little shout out, Larry.
Yeah.
Because one of our biggest fans, is regularly giving me feedback when he sees me, and it is super encouraging. And I wanted to just say, sure. Noah, you champion.
You little beauty buddy.
Yeah. All right. Now, I use champion because you are championing us onto big things. This kid is probably 13 years old, and he's at our school and in our volleyball program, and is just loving the podcast and continually just supporting us and going, I'm loving it, and
big bright future
coming.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped for that.
If he can gobble these bickies up, no man, the moon is your ceiling, even beyond.
That's it. Okay, so just run into a few people who are really enjoying it. A few people are a few episodes behind, which is totally logical, and take your time to
really
get on board.
Digest them.
Yeah, digest those bickies. Something you'll notice, already, I think, even at Bicky 4 being done and now Bicky 5, is the sort of logical flow, and there's a bit of a coherence between the biscuits. There's links, and we'll say last week we talked about this, and we'll talk about it now, and how to build this. What we're going to talk about now will be built upon further next week. So that's part of the
beauty of it,
the tastiness of the biscuits.
It's just like all these different flavors meld together in your mouth.
What a combination. So today we're looking at biscuit number 5, and it is
excuse me,
connect. And I say this almost every week, Lowy, but it's one of my faves, because, and I know I say that every week, and it's just I love it, but there's such
a big impact that you can have from it.
Exactly,
right?
Immediate impact, and we'll talk about that in the last letter of the acronym today. What is our acronym?
Our acronym today, going with the Connect theme, is Wi-Fi.
Ooh.
Now, Wi-Fi, and I've taken kids on international trips, and they're just banging for Wi-Fi. Like, when can we get Wi-Fi? It's such a thing that is it's Australian invention that's really brought the world, connected the world.
Hasn't it?
It has. Such a revolutionary thing. Yeah, it is.
Mind-blowing invention. And kudos to the Australian who did it, and I learnt that off a Skoda ad. Thanks to Skoda. I've got a Skoda, and I learnt that there. But yeah, an Australian. That's very cool. Wi-Fi is it's revolutionised the world. Has Wi-Fi,
and we hope this biscuit revolutionizes your relationships.
Absolutely, it can, and life is built on relationships.
Yeah,
they are the building blocks of life.
Yes, life isn't about you.
No. Life is not about you. It's one of the sort of 5 core truths. Life is not about you. Richard Rohr, that comes from, by the way. You can look into that, the other 4. But it is not about you. So let's get into it. Actually, before we get into it, John D. Rockefeller said that dealing with people is as purchasable a commodity as sugar, and one that he would pay more than anything else to have. And completely applicable to what we're going to talk about today. Like, this is a skill that you can pick up straight away and start mastering relatively quickly in your life. Not that we've mastered it, but we're definitely trying.
Trying, for sure. All right, first letter, W. The W in Wi-Fi stands for we over me. And both Glenbo and I come from a sporting PE background. And in our volleyball academy, we really try to emphasize this we over me mentality. And I know plenty of other professional teams and amateur teams really focus on this we over me mentality as well. It's almost, we have to prioritize and understand that everything, the whole team, the goal of what the team is trying to achieve is so much more important than just the person's goals and agenda and feelings and whatnot.
So people are probably sitting there going, okay, cool, sporting analogy, right? But we are all in teams. Yeah. Multiple teams in our lives. If you're in a family, that's a team. If you're at school, you've got teams, multiple teams there. If you're in a relationship, that's a team. It's a team of two. So we are all in teams, and if we're going to be on those teams, we've got to recognize that we're a key player, and we've got to commit to being on the team, and we've got to be a good teammate. And we speak from experience of knowing that there are ball and chains, man, on teams that can drag a team down and just prevent it from going forward. And the kind of traits that people who don't recognize the value of being a good teammate and don't recognize the power of we over me can just can destroy. Even if every other person is on it, it only takes one person to, like a bad disease getting through the team, the disease of me.
Speaking of diseases, I think this is becoming more and more prevalent with just people being selfish and only focusing on themselves. And the antidote to selfishness is selflessness. All right. When you put everybody else above yourself, and you serve others, all right, then we can solve all these problems.
Yeah. Right. I will acknowledge that we're all selfish.
Yeah, to a degree.
We're all on the spectrum somewhere of selfishness. Because we all,
it's
we all
biologically wired. Yeah, you have to
the hierarchy of needs. And
exactly.
We're going after what we need to survive, but self-awareness of the degree of my selfishness is it is extremely important for us to be able to go to recognize where am I at on that selfishness spectrum, and then start changing from there. And a willingness to change in this aspect is crucial if we're going to have impact with other people.
Yeah, and we've got to understand, like, even though it is baked into our DNA to be somewhat selfish, like, our civilization and our society has come about because we've helped each other, we've supported each other, right? And we've excuse me, we've understood that, we've overridden that basic survival instinct and worked together and put the collective, the team, the we above our individual needs. And that's why we've been able to conquer and, colonize the world as is. Yeah.
Now, with our volleyball program and whatnot, we are very much more concerned, and I think we've said this in previous Biscuit, we want kids to be better people than they are volleyball players by the time they leave our program. And how we treat people on our team, on my life team, on my family team, on my marriage team, on my best friend team, or whatever it is, how we treat people on those teams is more important than the outcome. So if I was put in a group assignment at school, or if I was working with a team at work on a project or whatever, regardless of the outcome, regardless of who's the most talented on that little group or on that team, how we treat each other outweighs the outcome and the talent and the success that team might achieve, because that's what's ultimately going to have the that ripple effect that we talked about last week.
Yeah. Small ripples, big waves.
Yeah, definitely.
Another thing to talk about, Alfred Adler, bit of a psychologist, pretty much one of him and Freud, and there's a few other ones. But anyway, he said all problems are interpersonal problems. And if we can understand that, if we can put away, the differences between other people and really understand that it's us and the problem with other people, right, and really solve those interpersonal problems, we can really achieve that we over me status. And it's not just myself and other people, the interpersonal problems that exist between that, but also between myself and the interpersonal me that is my conscience, all right? Yeah. Who the other person. So you've got your inner dude, your inner Lowy, or inner Glenbo, all right? And the problems that you have between you and your conscience also manifest the problem that it is. So I didn't really articulate that very well, but it's real. There's
conflict, but
between you, exactly,
between the dialogues going on in your head, the different.
And it's not just you and somebody else, but also you and yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And that'll kind of come in the next, perhaps in the next letter. But what am I bringing to my team? And I think if we can sit back and reflect, through the journaling process, which we're really big on, and we talk about almost every biscuit. But what am I bringing to my team? What vibe am I bringing? I kind of like the word vibe, that he's just got such a good vibe, that guy. Like, I love being around him. And I mean, we can link that back to what vibe is actually referring to with sort of the vibrations that they give off. And that we're all kind of made up of energy and give off different levels of energy. And we won't get into all of that sort of stuff. But what vibe is this person bringing? And you've heard of people like, again, in the sporting context, they talk about energy vampires. Yeah. They just suck all the life out of a team. And I'm sure we all know or have been around people who just suck the life out of teams because they're constantly whinging and complaining and blaming others for the circumstance. But I think we do need to recognise what does break teams down and what strengthens teams. And I think it revolves around trust. Yeah. And I think if you picked up any book on relationships, the word trust would be prominent in any one of those books. I don't know, have you heard the piggy bank type analogy? Yeah, you talked about in some staff meetings. It's good stuff. If we think about every relationship is represented by a piggy bank, right? And it's the piggy bank of trust. Now, what I want to do between you and me, I think our piggy bank's pretty full. Yeah. We're going all right. Yeah, doing pretty good. And when I encourage you and when you encourage me, we're making deposits into the piggy bank. We're putting coins in, right? And it's slowly filling, and we've got this really good level of trust. If I wanted to say something to you, or if I did something to you, or whatever that was not in the best interests of our relationship, then I'm making a withdrawal. It might be something along the lines of, and if I can use, and I hope this might be a withdrawal right now, Lowy. Yeah. But using the race card, you're Asian. Yeah. All right. And I know I've referred to you in the past as everybody's favorite Asian, and that's from a position, like a well intentioned position, but that could definitely be taken. Particularly if there was nothing in our piggy bank as really something detrimental and racist in itself. And I'm aware now of that's a dangerous thing to say, and I think we've got enough trust that I can get away with it, but I don't want to. Like, I don't necessarily want to make withdrawals that I shouldn't. So again, self-awareness is key. But there are things that can smash the piggy bank, all right, in relationships. Yeah. Severe betrayals and all this sort of thing, which just get a sledgehammer, no matter how many coins are in that piggy bank, how many deposits have been made, all can absolutely shatter it in one moment, in one instance. And although it may You know, if you think of someone, a kid who's maybe knocked a vase over and tries to glue it back together,
exactly. Yeah.
it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be whole, or there might be a little shard missing here or there. And we've just got to be aware of this concept of trust, and what am I doing to make deposits in my relationships and add to my team. And if I am going to make a withdrawal, then is it worth it?
Remind me to, when we come to the first eye, to talk about the piggy bank thing again. And before we go to the first eye, if you don't have a team yet, find your team. All right, you've got to find, and I've talked about in the past, my gymnastics boys have really helped me get to where I want to be in terms of getting my level 7. But if you don't have a team, find a team that really helps you grow. All right, if you're the biggest fish in the pond, you're in the wrong pond. All right, get around people. The hot poker principle you talked about. Get around people who are going to help you connect and just bring out the best in you.
Yeah, there are instances in life when I think we realize that I'm in the right spot, you know, because I'm surrounded by people who are stretching me and making me do bigger and better things.
Yeah,
there's a helicopter. Hopefully everyone, if it's a hospital one, everything is going okay there. And I've lost my helicopter of thought. Wow. But, you know, when we've got to realise that, is the team adding to my life? And we can choose to leave teams, you know.
It's a choice, yeah.
It is a choice. And we've got to, I think we've got to find a balance there, because I don't want to go around and say that, like if you were in a marriage, leave your team necessarily.
Yeah.
We also need to balance that with committing to our teams by giving our best. And I think if the rest of the acronym is followed, that we're going to talk about, then, and I'm not saying never leave your team, because there are reasons perhaps to leave your team, but we have that choice. And you know, if there's teenagers out there, and this is what I was trying to get to, probably should have got to it rather than going to the marriage thing, but if there's teenagers out there and you're at school and you're just, you know, we see it a lot, just hanging around the wrong kids, you got to recognize that and go, wait, this is actually really taking away not only from my life now, but perhaps my life
really holding you back.
Yeah, for sure, in the future.
All right.
Yeah, let's get on to the eye. The first eye.
It's the big eye.
It is. It is the big eye.
Yeah, it's just I. I in the sense that it, as in you, not the letter U,
like the person
letter
listening.
I, person I.
I'm talking to you.
First person.
And we're talking to us as well.
Yeah.
Let's remind each other that we're on the journey with you, listeners. You go.
No, okay, I'll go. And we can't really connect and really work with other people if we don't have a sense of ourself, all right, and a value for ourself. I'll just jump back to the piggy bank. You were saying, if you're making withdrawals from me, I'm like, my bank balance is going to drop and drop. But if I have the sense of who I am, and hopefully you've done the value hierarchy and you know that you have value regardless, then you're a little bit more resilient to those withdrawals. You have a self-acceptance of who you are, and that you have value, and that any connections that you can make with other people are valuable to them and valuable to you.
So like there's a bit of shock proof about your piggy bank. It's made of a more resilient
stainless steel instead of ceramic.
Yeah, amen, brother. I like that for sure. Let's roll with that one, really. And that, I guess, if we go back to cultivate and what we're going to talk about now, about knowing yourself and continually building your value as not inherent value, like I believe we're all inherently, irreplaceable.
Yeah.
But what we can, and confidence. We'll talk about it next week when we get on to the next biscuit. But knowing yourself, I don't think we can truly connect with other people until we know who we are. Last week we talked about doing the value hierarchy activity, and we did a blog post about it, and we would really encourage you to get into it. And it's just such a critical activity as a reference point. Part of your map to how you're going to go about your day is knowing what you stand for. And no more important when we're looking at relationships, how we want to treat other people. Am I treating someone in line with what I believe in most? We can't treat people consistently until we know who we are. Otherwise, the outcomes of those interactions are going to be unpredictable. They're going to be volatile. They're going to be at the mercy of the circumstance, which, is never going to end well.
Yeah, we've got to know what we're about, and we've talked about the value hierarchy activity. If you haven't done it yet, we said, what is that one word that you want to be?
Yeah.
All right, and hopefully you have a clear idea on that, and you can connect through that sort of lens as well.
Yeah. If you don't mind me sharing a little story, and I've shared this in staff meetings with my staff, but it was probably 3 or so years ago now. These kids just in a different class, not my class, they just weren't engaging, right? They were year 12s. And the unit they were doing required a lot of initiative, and they were taking none of it. And I'm just like, I was getting angry.
Yeah.
And the teacher was talking to me about it, and I'm just like, it makes me angry. The teacher was away one day, and I got the supervision. So I'm like, I'm going to just rip it through these kids. I'm going to tell them what it's all about. So I went down there and I ripped it through them, and this one kid was just put up his walls, just sat down and was like, no, not doing it.
You can't make me do anything.
Yeah. And so I got my back up, and we're arguing, like full on arguing. I'm shouting, he's shouting.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And we'll talk about this in various biscuits, but my witness came in, like that kind of extra Glenbow view of myself, looking at me from the outside, just shouting at this kid, and this kid shouting at me, and I just had that moment of, this is not who I am. It's not what I'm about. It's not who I want to be as a teacher. It's not how I want to be remembered.
Yep.
And so we sat there in silence for 30 seconds or something, and I just stopped and I said, look, buddy, I'm so sorry. The way I just conducted myself and spoke to you was completely unacceptable. It's not who I want to be, and I want to take it back, and I hope you can just forget it. I don't expect you to, but I'm hoping that you can, because I just played it back to myself, and it was not pretty. And he's like, he got up, and I'm like, righto,
here we go.
Yeah. And he's like, I feel exactly the same way, sir. And he gave me a handshake and a little dap hug, and just took off, and they were doing some running and lapped other kids, and at that time I'm just like, showing that vulnerability is super important as well. And I thought I'd share that because swallowing pride, I think, is important, and acting in line with who you want to be and not as a outcome of circumstance, I think is important. So thank you for allowing me to share that little story.
Oh, no problem, Glen.
Hopefully someone can get something out of it.
Yeah. I've got another quote here that I want us to talk about, and it was written on my board. It was on my desk. I've got this whiteboard behind my laptop, and I believe it was Valma. Thank you, Valma. I think she saw that I was pretty stressed at the time, and she wrote down a quote that said, "You can't pour from an empty cup." And when we're talking about we've really got to not just know our values and know what we want to stand for and how we want to act, but you've got to understand that the I is also about recuperating a little bit. Right? If you aren't fully able to, if you're not working on yourself, you're not healthy, if you're not a 10 out of 10 or a higher than what you need to be, you won't be able to help other people. You'll have zero drink or water to be able to quench the thirst of other people. So the I also has that aspect behind it.
Oh, absolutely. From 2 points of view, I think. One is your emotional resilience at the time to be able to go, I just need some time to fill my cup and be in a place to help others, right? And put others first and we over me and all that sort of thing. And second, I think at the same time is me as a stable, seeing myself as valuable and being able to contribute and having the kind of wisdom. There's probably a better word for that, but to be able to help others. I don't think we can really truly build other people until
You start building yourself.
we start building ourselves. Again, we spoke about the out of 10 thing last week, and you mentioned it there. If in terms of my whole number as how I see myself and my, you know, my, I guess, value, for want of a better term, is a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
And you're a 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
How am I contributing to our relationship? You know, or if you're a 5 out of 10, I'm just
you're just taken.
I'm just taken.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to start building myself, cultivating these things in my life, going back to Biscuit 2, and having the courage to do that and pursuing my purpose by following my values and all that sort of thing. And if I'm on that journey, now I can start, you know, start to enjoy the journey, start to enjoy myself, start to enjoy our relationship, start to, you know, if I use love again, I can't truly love someone else. And again, we talk about love in the whole aspect. We're not just talking romantic love.
Yeah.
I can't truly love someone until I love myself.
Self-acceptance.
I can't truly value someone until I value myself. So if you're sitting there listening going, I don't value myself, you know, I wish I was more like other people, or if you've got a friend who you value but you don't value yourself, this could be difficult, but I'm throwing it out there. Do you truly value that person, or do you just value what they're giving you?
Yeah.
And
it's
if
like
that's
a superficial kind of like value.
Yeah. Or if what they're giving you is taken away, then are they still valuable? Because you're saying you're not valuable, and ultimately we are all one, right? Like we're all
Homo sapiens. We're all a part of the same species.
Yeah, we're all got
Inhabitants of
blood
this
running
earth.
through our veins, and veins,
Veins.
and if we take that blood out, we are all dead.
Yeah.
We've all got a heart. We've all got a brain. Like, we are just such beautiful creations, and it blows my mind how
you can't stand people that have a low self-esteem. Like, love yourself.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, let's build at
ourselves,
least our core value in recognizing what an amazing thing we are, and then I think we can start to
start valuing other people and then connecting.
Yeah,
for sure. That's what the big I is about, isn't it? Working on yourself.
Working on yourself to become a lifter.
Yeah, lifter and not a leaner.
Yeah. And to become independent so that you can be interdependent with someone else who is independent. And Stephen Covey talks about, you know, dependence and independence and interdependence in the sort of preface or introduction to 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which again we'll do a book club review of in season 2, and would encourage you to check out. And we'll talk about a bit more of his stuff in this biscuit. But I'm going to quickly
read that lifters leaners quote up.
You have a chat to them, Lowy.
I want to talk about the ultra self. So we before we talked about, you know, being really able to grow ourselves and build ourselves so that we can, you know, help other people. And when we have that ultra self, when we're fully self-accepted our own value, we can really view other people's success from a lens of just like pure joy, as opposed to, you know, envy or, you know, oh, that's really great, but, you know, that didn't happen to me, but, you know, I'm still happy for them. Like, no, you're just purely happy because there's a connection between you and that person, and you're happy about what's happened. Right? You've accepted yourself for who you are, and come to terms and at peace with who you are, and have what your value is, that you can really enjoy the connection and the value that other people's will bring to you.
It is a hallmark of maturity, I think, to be able to take joy in other people's successes and really just truly share emotion with them. And I think
Yeah.
that's the positive and the negative, like really empathizing and whatnot, which again, we'll probably talk about shortly. Here is this poem. It's not too long, probably take me a minute or so to read. It's by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, and it's about lifters and leaners. And if you can imagine, or I'll let the poem do the talking. So it's called Two Kinds of People. There are two kinds of people on earth today. Just two kinds of people, no more, I say. Not the sinner and the saint, for it's well understood the good are half bad and the bad are half good. Not the rich and the poor, for to rate a man's wealth you must first know the state of his conscience and health. Not the humble and proud, for in life's little span who puts on vain airs is not counted a man. Not the happy and sad, for the swift flying years bring each man his laughter and each his tears. No, the two kinds of people on earth, I mean, are the people who lift and the people who lean. Wherever you go, you will find the earth's masses are always divided in these two classes. And oddly enough, you will find too, I ween, there's only one lifter to 20 who lean. In which class are you? Are you easing the load of overtaxed lifters who toil down the road? Or are you a leaner who lets others bear your portion of labour and worry and care?
Oh, Dr. Seuss almost.
Like,
I love it.
Man, are you a lifter or a leaner? That's insane. Like, I want to be a lifter for sure.
Like I think, and I hope deep down everybody else listening is like, yeah, man, I want to help people. I want to be a lifter.
And not only that, but I also don't want to be a leaner.
Yeah.
Like, we all need to lean
At some point,
right?
yeah.
But we can't lean on someone else who's leaning.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can't always lean, because if we're always leaning on someone who's lifting, at some point that lifter's going to get fatigued and they're going to need to lean. And if you're not there to be the lifter,
it all comes tumbling down.
That's
great poem.
And I think if we can take that and go, what am I? Like, let's think about it. What am I? Am I a lifter or a leaner? All right.
Moving on.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're good.
All right. So we've done W, we over me. We've done the I, the big I. So the next letter in the acronym is focus, F, focus on others.
Yeah.
And I know we've just talked about I as in, work on yourself. But there's no point if you've just continued to work on yourself, right, and not apply it to other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, and I don't want to, talk down to the people who've made these posts, because I think it's important to work on yourself. But New Year's Day resolutions. This year's all about me. I'm going to work on myself. Going to live for myself, and that's great to a degree. But if that's all your life is going to be, then that's not great.
No. So I mean, again, as you mentioned before, if your cup's empty, sure, you need the time to refuel, to sharpen the sword, to fill your cup. All that sort of thing, definitely important to get your fire relit.
But then you got to focus on others. Life, like we said, life is not about you.
Yeah. So I guess the F here is the Life Biscuits slant, right?
Yeah.
What we're about at Life Biscuits is ultimately having a purpose that is making a contribution in some way to the greater good. Yeah. So we want to develop ourselves to take it to the world and take it to whether that world is our family or whether that world is the globe. We want to focus on other people and make a contribution. So sure, if you need to fill your cup, go for it. But it can't all be, I'm going to do me, I'm going to get mine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's a quote from Remember the Titans, which is an amazing movie.
Amazing. And it's not just about, like, we do want to focus on others, and it's easy, to focus on people that, align or are similar to us. Like, I know, being a PE teacher, I could connect with the more athletic kids a little bit easier. And it's easy for me because we'll talk about sport, or we'll talk about, volleyball or DD trials. And for the kids that aren't sporty, how are we going to connect with them? Like, it's not just about, I'm going to develop good relationships with these sporty kids, but those kids that, you don't connect with, they're also equally important. They also have that inherent value that we've talked about.
For sure. Definitely. So essentially we don't want to just, when we say focus on others, we don't want to just do it within our teams. So that's what We Over Me and finding your team is, right? Finding your team is amazing. Work in your teams, all that sort of thing. But then you've got to work with other teams, or work with those outside your teams, or focus on those outside your team as well. So when we're playing with the Hawks, when at volleyball, that's the team, right? So be a good teammate. Excellent. Now, while you're being a good teammate to your teammates, we are also being a great Hawk. We're being a great person. We're being a great school member to the opposition,
teams,
to our enemies, know. And a lot of teams are like, I hate the other team, I'm going to hate them. Whereas we're like, nah, man, we're different. We want to be different. We want to stand out. And so we try to do things like, if we touch a ball before it's going out, we tell the ref that we touched it, because we're about integrity and we want people to be better people than our volleyball players. And if we're teaching them on the volleyball court, if you touched the ball, make sure you tell the ref that you didn't touch it. Wave your hands around like you didn't touch it. That's fine. All right. But again, that's not in line with our values. No. And therefore it's going to eat away at us, and we're not going to be able to be...
Our foundation will be corroded.
Exactly. So taking it away from the sporting analogy, let's meet our values to humanity. Yeah. Not just those who are on our team.
One humanity, one team. We are all, like we mentioned before, one species, and we're all in the same team together.
Yeah.
So...
Albert Schweitzer said, I don't know what your destiny will be, but I know this. The only ones among us who will be truly happy are the ones who have sought and found how to serve others. And, he speaks about others there as others, not just your partner or whatever. Like, that's included. Serve your team, be a good teammate, but be a good person as well, and look to focus on other people.
Goosebumps. Do we talk about just charity and stuff like that? Different ways to, or that come in the dark, you reckon?
I think seriously, I think we make excuses as the middle class and lower class, which is probably, I don't think there'll be too many
There's no
celebrities listening to this who are loaded.
Come on, Hugh.
Waiting.
And again, I'm oversimplifying this a lot, but what are we giving?
Yeah.
What are we doing to make a contribution to the poor and the afflicted and the disabled? And, not that I'm saying the disabled are worthy of our charity. I value them as absolutely capable and equally valuable people in our community. But what I think we say, the billionaires, they can do everything because they've got all the money. But I think it's good to give.
I think there's so many things that as an individual, your choices you can choose to do. Even though you think we're lower class or middle class and we don't actually have that much, but collectively, if we can all work together, to help each other out, there's so much broad scope to be able to achieve stuff.
Yeah,
just grassroots campaign or consuming the way that we consume things. We can make a more ethical choice, and I think we'll talk about that in other episodes once we finish season 1.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on?
Let's.
In the interest of time.
Yeah, interest of time. So the last I is initiative. All right. Going first. I think if we are able to be accepting of ourselves, then we'll be able to have a little bit more initiative to go. I think if we can work on ourselves, really work on the big I and grow, then we'll be able to go, you know what, we can find opportunities to connect and really work on building those relationships. We've talked about in the past in Cultivate, and when we talk about journaling, doing an audit in the morning about what opportunities do I have to be able to make an impact And specifically for here, what sort of initiative can I take to be able to make a connection, an impact with connection?
Yeah, for sure.
We've talked about, you've given us a little anecdote about your smile, your little psychological social experiment. And for sure, like if you like, I think every listener should try it as well, because it's like bonkers.
Man, I did it again. In fact, I do it. It's almost it's becoming a
it's
habit
like
now.
it's contagious, isn't it? Like,
and my man Noah, again, like he'll call me out a few times and going, "What's wrong, sir? You're not smiling. You know, you seem down." And I'm like, "Oh man, whoops, no, I'm not.
That's not who I am."
Exactly. And so, but I was trying it again today. I was just walking around, and the motion leads emotion thing that we spoke about, like smile and kind of the emotion will follow. And I mean, you can argue that all you want.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, anecdotally, like, just do it, because I was doing it today again, and like I was just kind of walking around.
and I'm doing it right now. Like
Exactly.
you're whacking on a big grin, and I'm grinning that back at you.
Exactly, and it just works, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you're an introvert, like you don't have to talk to people. Just the smile of non-verbal communication is some form of connection that's positive.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's so simple, and there's such big rewards to be had. I'm an introvert.
Me too.
And it's just not an excuse.
Yeah. To not make connection with other people when life is not about you.
Yeah, definitely.
Mining the good intentions.
John Maxwell talks about this.
Yeah.
Mining the gold of good intentions. Hopefully people will do that for me with some faux pas that I might say in episodes, and I feel like I made one just before with the disabled stuff. I think my intention there is to just say the right thing, and it's only my ignorance that lets me down, and my lack of eloquence.
Yeah, and we're hoping the listeners, because they're being or having the initiative, that they will also try to mine the goal of good intentions with you. We're not just being super defensive, or we're trying to seek to understand first, as opposed to going and being reactive to things.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, an example was yesterday. Haley called and said, "Oh, can you get some bananas and milk? We need bananas and milk, so get that on the way home." And I had to go down and get my car, which was being serviced, and I got in the car and I'm like, all right, got to get home. I'd forgotten about the bananas and milk thing. Just want to get home. Maybe I can catch Haley before she goes with Josie to dancing. So I'm like, yeah, cool. All right, quick hustle home. And I missed them. Turns out they were turning out of the street as I was turning into the street. But I got home and I'm like, and we're out of town, so it's not just super easy to go and get the bananas and milk. And so I just texted her and I said, look, I just really wanted to get home. That's all I wanted to do. I forgot about bread and milk, and my intentions were, I didn't say this, but my intentions were pure. And Haley could have gone, you had one job, man, to get we need bananas and we need milk for tomorrow morning, and the shops are going to be closed and blah, blah, blah. But she didn't. She's like, all good. I got it. She saw my intention was, she knew that she gave me the job, and she could have gone, seriously, man? But no, saw the good intentions in what I was doing. And if people would do that all the time, then, good things, I think, there would be a lot less conflict and issues going around. So thank you.
Good on you, Haley. Good on you.
Yeah. So we've talked about smiling. We've talked about mining the gold of good intentions. There is, again, we should mention this initiative. This doubles as our dunk, essentially, because we're giving you some stuff here that we think is, again, super
applicable, easy to do.
Go and do it.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I've got about just humility and vulnerability, and I think we talked about that a little bit before, but we can't really connect well with other people if we put ourselves or portray a persona of just being untouchable, perfect, and at the highest standard. And we know for sure, like, we're all human beings, that we have flaws, and to be able to connect and to be more relatable, we've got to be a little bit more vulnerable. And hopefully through some of our anecdotes today, that we've shown a bit of vulnerability and been able to connect with you listeners.
I mean, two great words there, vulnerability and humility. One, we can learn and grow from
Everybody. Yeah.
Absolutely. Humility, I believe, and I'm just spitballing here, but comes from a Latin humus.
Hummus.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it does. Which, again, and I'm not saying it's the dip, even though I do love a good hummus. Aldi does a pretty solid one. But it means good soil,
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, nice.
Go look it up.
Nice.
Good soil, which, again, what happens in good soil? Things
Grow.
all right. And if we're humble, we're in the environment, the growth environment. We're in an environment, we're ready. We're looking at opportunities to grow. We're not in a prideful kind of, I've already got it all down pat, I don't need to change soil. We're not in concrete. We are in good soil, ready to grow. And being ready to learn off people and going and like asking questions, which we've spoken about before, and being interested in people will allow us and make them feel important, which is the next thing that we'll talk about after we just touch on the vulnerability thing as well. Yeah, people need to know with deep connection that, you know, we are broken too.
Yeah.
There's got to be, particularly within our teams, some reciprocity.
Yeah.
There's definitely times when, if we are two, as we mentioned, kind of interdependent lifters, at some point we're going to need to lean on someone.
Yeah, for
as
sure.
the song says. But we can only be. We've got to show that vulnerability and say, "I need to lean on you at the moment."
Yeah.
And yeah, I think if we can all do that to some degree, I'm not good at that. I'm probably like to put on a front of I've got this all going on. But if you heard my internal dialogue a lot of the time, it's going wild.
Yeah. And then I think being on this journey and, you know, being able to mature and going through this life biscuit process, I kind of personally think I used to be a little bit more like too stoic, and now I've been able to like accept myself and go, you know, when I do need help, I'm able to just, you know, say, hey, look, not doing so great, I'm going to keep tracking on, but, you know, if you can, I'll be able to just be accepting of myself enough to be able to, you know, request help when I need it. Yeah.
And that leads us on to making other people feel important. And I think regardless of the person, if we can just really, I think everyone, you know, if we talk about needs to feel accepted, needs to feel loved, needs to feel like they are worthy and important. And I think we can do that with people, you know, just by really trying to engage with them and encouraging them. And you spoke about earlier about, and again, I'm similar, particularly in my early years of teaching, I'd really connect and engage with the sporty kids and whatnot, because that's who I was, and it's PE, and it's like we connect automatically. But what am I doing for the outcast, the oddball in the class, who is unique and beautiful in themselves? How am I making them feel valued and important in my lessons? And that's been a real challenge for me over the last couple of years, and one that I'm absolutely trying to take on. And so I've started doing surveys with my kids, you know, once a term, asking questions about how they felt in the class, and did they feel accepted, and what more can I do, and all that sort of thing. And it's great because some kids I'm like, I've kind of been acknowledging that kid, and I've thought I've engaged with them, and they'll make comments like, you know, you hang out with the cool kids, or you talk more with the cool kids, or whatever.
Anyway.
And I'm just like, man, so I'll go on there and make a concerted effort to really, and it's anonymous, even though I know their handwriting, so I can figure out who it is.
Another word for the dunk, I guess, well, the initiative plus the dunk that is this section, Gen Shy. We talked about, you know, trying to really lift and really make other people feel valued. Gen Shy is this ancient Indian word that means to never treat another person in a manner that would make them feel small, including yourself. And earlier you talked about the witness, and which we will continue to talk about later on. But if you can develop your witness and have that almost like, you've seen Inside Out.
I haven't. Oh yeah, no. I have seen
How
it.
they're like all the personalities are in the booth of the head, and they've got like CCTV or like the eyes.
Yeah.
If you can like really work on withdrawing, and being able to view what you're doing through that lens of Gen Chai, am I making this person feel smaller, including yourself? All right, that's an immediate application to what Connect can be.
Yeah, for sure. And again, we can only develop our witness if we know our values.
Self-awareness, yeah.
And if we talked before about people being unpredictable and whatnot, which if I don't know how, like if I have a problem and I want to speak to someone about it and you're the only one there, but I know that you're, depending, if you're having a bad day, then it's not gonna be a good time to talk to you, because you're gonna bite my head off or you're gonna be angry at me. Then because you haven't got, you don't know what you're about, you're just reacting to how life's treating you that day.
It's hard to connect.
Then it's hard to connect, and it's hard for me to trust and have a trusting relationship, because I'm like, I can't rely on you now when I need to lean, because you're busy leaning on the circumstances of life, rather than just being ready and stable and being independent of things and being ready to go, wait, I might need to lean now, but I can see you need to lean more, so I'm going to be steady for the next couple of hours and listen to you.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our next point.
Great, Doug.
Listen. Oh man, I'm the worst at this. I'm terrible at listening because I'm a fixer, and I mean I'm getting better because I'm really trying to be better at it.
Yeah.
But in this respect, Haley and I are very different, because I'm just like, if Haley's not having a great day and needs to lean, I'm just like, all right, I got this. What can I do? Let's I'm gonna ease her burden by just doing all these.
Well, your feet are sore, I'll get you a massage.
Yeah, and she just wants to connect emotionally and wants me to validate her struggles, and I'm busy here going, okay, to solve your struggle, you need to do this, all right? And why don't you just, this is what I do, why don't you try that? Have you tried this? Meanwhile, she just wants me to hug her and go, it's okay, things are going to be all right. And so I'm working on it.
Good on you,
so
mate.
thanks for your patience.
Yeah, such an important thing for communication and connection, listening.
I think they've found that active listening has been one of the kind of most significant influences in workplace environments over the last 20 years or something. I saw a piece of research on that. Apologies, like I read a bit and I will take it in, but because I'm not writing and therefore I'm not referencing it, we kind of are like, oh, just check this out, I read this somewhere. So apologies that we
You'll
don't.
have to fact check us for sure.
But when we write the book, some of this stuff will come out obviously through referencing and all that sort of stuff. So
To recap?
Well, Zig Ziglar said, if we can give other people what they want, then we'll get everything we want.
Yeah.
And it made me think when I heard that, if I just treat people really well and I help them get what they want,
they'll help you get what you want.
Yeah, like if I'm doing that with everyone, and if I'm kind of spreading my wings and connecting with people, I'm not eyes down. I'm like, hey, you're important, and I'm just engaging and whatnot. Then this person that I'm connecting with knows this person who owns this, and this, and all of a sudden I need a trailer, and it's like, oh, I know Johnny's got a trailer. There's people out there. You're like, this guy knows everyone. He's got a contact for everything. It's because they're great connectors with people, and they have these trusting relationships and great, connection sort of traits that when they need something, they've got this network of people that they've connected with, and that's how it happens. I think either that or it's like full on dodgy and they've got info on them that they don't want to get out.
But in a sense, when you help other people, you help yourself.
Definitely. And we, as we mentioned earlier, we cannot, and I think this was Ralph Waldo Emerson who said this, if I'm not mistaken, but no one can sincerely try to help another without helping himself. So let's go out and help other people.
All right, to wrap it up with our acronym, Wi-Fi, The W stands for we over me. All right. We've got to put other people above ourselves, our team mentality.
Yeah.
The big I for yourself. We really need to work on ourselves before and know what we're about.
Yeah.
All right, and fill our cup before we can help other people.
Yeah.
And then the F, focus on other people. All right, focus on others. Life is not about you. All right.
Yeah.
And then our last one, initiative, which also coincides as our dunk. All right, go get the initiative to make connections. All right. And we've talked about some very simple strategies: smiling, gen shy, mining the gold of good intentions.
Be a lifter, not
Be
a
a
leaner.
lifter, not a leaner.
Yeah. Encourage others. Be humble and vulnerable with people. Grant volleyball.
Oh yeah, volleyball.
Volleyball, right? People will not remember. Like I played volleyball for a few seasons in the A grade comp or whatever, and I was part of a team, and they were pretty good, and I was the dead weight on the team. Right, I was pretty bad compared to these other guys. And Grant, who was probably the best player on the team, right?
Yeah.
Like Queensland, Australia, like he's famous in Toowoomba for volleyball.
Oh, he's the god.
Yeah, so Grant was on the team, and even though I'm shanking balls, right, shanking balls all over the place and hitting out the back of the court and all this sort of stuff, he never once made me feel small or insignificant or like a bad volleyball player. And I've seen lots of people make other people feel bad, not through the words they say, but through the looks they give. And
the non-verbal body language.
The non-verbal body language and stuff. But thank you, Grant, because you could have just been like, Marto, you got to get that pass in. You know, you got to make this pass here, and you got to hit this, and you got to blah blah. But he was just, I'd do something completely average, and he's just like, yeah, Marto, good job. And
I can echo that. When I've played with him, he's just been a top bloke.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's
a lifter.
He's a lifter, and that, you know, he is a better person than he was a volleyball player, even though he was a gun volleyball player. So I wanted to give that one out to G Norm for connecting in that way and making an impact which still sticks around all these years later. If you're married or in a long-term relationship, here's a dunk for you. All right? Give your best. I think sometimes we save our best for strangers, and we save our best for our friends or our acquaintances, and then we go home and we're safe at our home environment in that little team, and so we often give our worst. And I think we can give more, perhaps. So
for sure. I
found myself being, and this is with my family as well, like I'm a different person at school than I am at home, but I think I'm more valuable at school in certain aspects, and I connect with people better at school, and I'm like, that's not right. Like I should be hopefully
the people that mean so much to you deserve the best of me, not just the leftovers. Yeah, exactly.
And so I've been trying to really do that. And there's even been instances when Hallie's like, what's wrong with you?
This isn't normal.
Yeah, like you're smiling so much and this is weird. And I'm like, oh, nothing. I'm just,
what have you done?
Yeah, but I just really want to try and give my best to that rather than just scraps and what's left over at the end of my day. Even though I know I'm safe to do that, and I can let my short hair down, and that sounds
short
good.
Hair down.
Please take that back. Good intentions. I literally meant the hair on my head. But anyway, there's a dunk for
the married people.
Married
even
relationship out there. And to your kids.
I mean, even I live with my brother, and my brother deserves, he's one of my loved ones, and he deserves, my best too. And I notice, like, sometimes when I come home stressed, like, completely get what you're saying, Marto. Like, I'll be grumpy or pretty silent. It'll be, we'll try to talk to each other about each other's day, but I'd just be like, man, I've got uni to do or whatever. So, Daniel,
if a
I know
friend
you're listening.
Came over
yeah, exactly.
Or
You'd have to put on this almost facade of being like,
and you're able to do it for a random, but you can't. put
Yeah,
someone
brother.
else first and
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
come on, like, even if it is putting on a facade, to help them
Yeah, exactly.
see that you're putting your best out for them.
Good dunk.
Yeah, I don't know. Take it or leave it, but I'm going to take it.
Right. Well,
Cool. That's 1 hour.
1 hour. I
1
felt like
hour,
we went
exactly.
a little. Oh, exactly. Look at us go.
Yeah.
I felt like we went a little bit longer. But yeah, I think some really good stuff in our Connect Biscuit.
Yeah,
I think it's really important and easily applicable.
definitely.
Yeah.
Figure out who you are. I'm definitely one who avoids conflict because I believe he who treads lightly goes far. And so we can really try and make big impacts on our relationships to go far without conflict or just seeking out the worst in people. Let's find the best in people.
Yeah.
Namaste, as they say. Welcome the light and the best that is in people. Even though we are all half bad.
Yeah. So, a reminder about our mailing list. If you haven't subscribed, please do to that. It just helps clear the clutter a bit and get you access to the goodies and the blog posts that we think really beneficial to you. Yeah.
I'm going to try and write a few more blog posts. Some people have said that they have found those
Nice.
easier to absorb than the
long podcast.
which when they listen to it is good, but then they forget it, whereas they're
Yeah, for
absorbing
sure.
it a bit better through words,
Action.
even though the blogs so far have nothing to do, or only a little bit to do with the podcast.
Yeah.
But we might do some summary blogs perhaps for those people. So yeah, it's been wild. Lifebickies@gmail.com. That is our email. The Bickies is with two Ks.
Yep.
If you search Life Biscuits on Facebook or
On
Instagram,
Instagram.
you will see a little Duncan biscuit there. Please like and follow. And if you're on Twitter, you can do the same thing.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Snack-sized wisdom, life-sized impact.
That's it. Now, you are a legend. I love you. And
love you
thanks
too,
for
man.
doing this with me.
And I love all of
Very
you
important.
listeners. You are all very valuable. You have worth.
Yeah. Connect with us.
See you next time.
Know thyself. All right. Farewell, people.
Peace.
Time to go.
So delicious.
I'm feeling full.
Yum yum in my tum tum.
Gotta digest them bickies.